to the position, and I'm so glad it's you. So thank you, Lou, for being here.
I appreciate and I'm thankful for the opportunity to serve our men and women who serve us, as well as the city of Lockport. And I'm very thankful for the recommendation I got from Alderman Peretta that opened up the door for me, so thank you. And thank you, Chief, for considering me.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I too would like to thank Alderman Peretta for recommending such a quality choice, so thank you very much. Next, we have an award for Officer Adam Schreiner, the Life Saving Award. If we could have Officer Schreiner come up. I'll read the award. This correspondence is to commend you for your actions on April 5th, 2015, in which you served or saved the life of an 87-year-old woman. After receiving a call of a woman who was choking at a residence in the 1300 block of Billow Circle, you arrived on the scene to find the victim lying on the ground, not breathing, and without a pulse. After assessing the victim's condition, you began cardiopulmonary resuscitation. You continued CPR until paramedics arrived. As a result of your efforts, the victim was transported to the hospital with a pulse and was able to receive further advanced medical care. Your actions are a credit to this agency and should be held as an example for others to follow. Congratulations, Adam. That's yours. It's a key. Oh. Next is Detective Bill Sheehan. What I'm about to read doesn't accurately reflect what Bill did in this case, and for reasons of confidentiality, I can't say all the great work that he did, but this is just a mere snippet of what he really did in this case, and I'll read it. This correspondence is to commend you for your actions between November 2013 and February 2015 regarding a criminal investigation into a reported aggravated criminal sexual abuse. In November of 2013, you received a report regarding a female who wanted to report that she had been sexually abused by a family member in 1997 when she was only 13 years old. The investigation, which took more than a year and involved repeated travel to downstate Illinois, ultimately resulted in an indictment of 7 felony charges and provided much-needed closure for the victim. Bill, your actions are a credit to the agency and should be held as an example for other officers to follow. Congratulations, Bill.
Give it to Chief.
We'll go get it.
Why don't we all get it? There you go.
Congratulations.
All right, what are we? Number 71, safest city in America, right? Thank you, officers. Thank you, police department. Great job, as always. All right, another thing, I don't have it on the agenda, but there's something else I wanted to ask Jack and Patty Pastori to come up and talk for a few minutes. You know, we had the opportunity for some of the residents from Asiago, Italy, to come out this year for their sister city that we have. They came out for Old Canal Days, and it was a lot of fun. But really, I want Jack and Patty to tell the story because they've been so instrumental in making this happen. So please, come on up and tell us everything.
Really. When you first asked me to come and talk for 10 minutes, I got really nervous because it's either one way or other. I'm a motor mouth or I don't talk at all. Anyway, so here's a encapsulated version of what happened over Canal Day weekend. First of all, we had 5 guests come in from Italy about 1:30 in the morning, Wednesday morning, brought them back to our house. And from that time on, I'm going to tell you the progression of what actually went on. First of all, thank you, Mayor, for having us and embracing our Sister City program. Thank you, City Council, for your support and everything you've done for us over the entire process. We started back in 2013, and now we're here. This is our first endeavor of actually having something affiliated with the city going on, a fundraiser and everything else. I have to tell you, my family is from Asiago, and I think we got a jewel of a city. When we,
Hey, Patty, if you don't mind, if you can actually talk into the microphone,
Okay.
that way it gets recorded better.
when we first got this going, I went to some towns, and it's kind of a funny story, so I have to share it. I was asking them how they operated with their sister city, and after a long conversation, they said, "Well, who's your sister city?" And I said, "It's Asiago, Italy." And yours is way better than ours. So I said, "Thank you very much," and got a lot of information on
That's
what
what
to
they
do.
say in Italy when they say there's a rock. Yeah.
Something, yeah. Anyway, after all this happened, we had a big party. We had a gathering of St. Dennis Church right after the parade, Canal Day weekend, and we sent out all kinds of things in the paper and everything. And we had about 90 responses, and about 130 showed up. It was a fantastic response. And these were all whose families had immigrated from Asiago to Lockport. And I guess I didn't realize how many relatives I had, but it just kept spreading and spreading. We had a membership drive and ran out of food with the last person that went through the line. Jack and I didn't even get a chance to eat, but that was okay. Anyway, going on, this is the first time we had a tent at Old Canal Days, and boy, we were very lucky. We had a great position of our tent right next to the Main Street wine tent. Who doesn't like cheese and wine? And so that was a plus. And after that, we got the police actually came on the speaker, I think it was Saturday night, evacuate immediately and seek safety. Thank you very much for your alert, because that storm rolled in and we just grabbed everything and booked out of there. But that was about 9:30, I think, right, Terry? Oh, we were lucky in any case. We had 3 people stay with us, 2 with my cousin, Father Mark at St. Dennis, and we were very lucky. We established a relationship with everybody that seems to have gotten off to a really good start. They were really impressed with Lockport and with all the friendly people that they met, and they couldn't say enough about us. It was very nice. For them to get over here, they were bringing their beer Chimbra, into the United States for the first time to be sold. So we were actually their
There it is, baby, right there.
ringboard. Actually, I've got some here. I want to show you. I will give this. Yeah, you can pass them out. These were little labels that they put on their beer. They had them specially made up for us for our introduction of their beer into the United States, and it commemorates the sister cities of Asiago and Lockport, Illinois, Canal Days, the dates. And they really went to a lot of trouble to make this a good impression, not only for them, but for us as well. And it was really spectacular, to say the least. I mean, they were unbelievable guests, and a lot of hard-working things. We had USDA obstacles to jump through, and it didn't happen overnight. This took a while. But while they were here, they're all hockey fans, so they went down to see the Blackhawks celebration of 4 million people, and they were really overwhelmed with all the response of how everybody gets behind those teams as well. Next, I have to tell you about the cheese. We've been working about getting Asiago cheese, authentic cheese from Italy, for a while, and it's hard to have it delivered to your door. So my cousin, Francesco, who also worked endlessly in getting us this Sister City partnership with the mayor over there, he talked to the president of the consortium for keeping, what is this? It's called the Consortium to Preserve the True Making of Asiago Cheese. We got 2 of these wheels of cheese delivered to our doorstep 3 days before Canal Days, each weighing 24 pounds apiece. All donated, and very lucky for us because they did this for us. Again, it was just an amazing thing because they just don't do this, and for them to come up with this cheese was fantastic. We also contacted Rigoni of Asiago. They have a distributor in Miami. And they provide us with organic jams, honeys, and their brand of what they call, it's called Nicolata, but it's like Nutella. Really successful, and they gave us this. And the person we contacted there, his last name was Carley, and there's Carley family still in Lockport, and of course there's Rigoni family still in Lockport, and everybody knows Jeff from the park board. So it was really neat because we still have a lot of those names very involved in Lockport. We also contacted a Monsignor Peter Oberto, who wrote 2 books on the immigration of the Asiago immigrants, and he lives in Michigan, and he sent us down 2 books, and we were able to help him sell his books that aren't totally on the market yet, but we were able to help him out with that too. Finally, the mayor and Wendy hosted a fantastic dinner at their house Sunday night after Canal Days, because they had nothing to do all weekend, you know. But they hosted a fantastic dinner for us. Wendy made a fantastic meal, and at that time, the people from Birachimbra brought in something from the mayor of Asiago to present
Let me show you.
to the mayor.
So they gave us a medallion that there's only a few of, and it's this gold-plated, it's their city crest, and it's gold-plated. It's got the 7 brothers who came from the Alps and founded Asiago on the plateau and the other 6 cities. So it's very special, and it was given to us for the city of Lockport. I will put this in City Hall in a prominent place. But now we have to think of what you're going to bring them. So we got to get to work on something comparable, because as far as I know, we don't have anything this cool yet. So
I'm sure an artist like yourself will come up with something.
yes, carve a picture of Darren's head.
In adding to this, there were only 8, this was a commissioned piece of art
You guys wanna look at it?
that was sculptured specifically for our occasion. And there are 7 cities that make up the Asiago Plateau, and because we are now part of that sister city program, we got the 8th piece of sculpture to present from the mayor of Asiago, and there's no others. This is etched in gold. It's absolutely beautiful. So with that, we were very, very lucky and taken us totally by surprise. They also brought us a flag of Asiago. It does not have the 7 brothers on it, but this is the Asiago flag, and we hung it at our tent that over Canal Day weekend. And we'd like to make sure that the mayor has that here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, we could definitely put this up somewhere fun. So this is great. Thank you guys.
Thank you. And finally, I know this has nothing to do with what you're going to hear about, but I have to say it. Thanks to my cousin Candy Herbcha, who has very endlessly worked on this. Frank Pagano, who has, I don't know if many of you know Frank, but he's very verbal and Italian, and it was instrumental in getting our connection with Asiago, with the Birachimbra people, because there's a 7-hour difference. This was not easy to kind of get our hours all coordinated together to talk and that sort of thing. And finally, special thanks to my husband, who has been right along my side all along the road here. And thank you, City of Lockport. I'm very proud to be part of you. Thank you.
And Patty, Jack, thank you. This wouldn't have happened without all your efforts, as long as, Candy Herbcha and others. So thank you guys for making this happen. And, one of the things that's important to understand, it's not just about, it's fun, which it is, and it's not just about, student exchanges or anything like that. It also has economic benefits. I mean, the family was truly trying to find ways to start distributing their beer, and they're working on that. And we talked to Sylvia, one of the mother. She's a furniture designer. They manufacture it. And I'm like, Ben, we need some new chairs in that lobby. They're those old ugly blue things that have got to go. So I don't know if we can afford Italian furniture, but it'd be interesting to at least look into it. But,
Might have an
the same
inside
goes
track.
with Lockport. Was it, Patty? I'm sorry.
Might have an inside track, I don't.
But the same goes with Lockport. I know that, Ron Cornola from Cornola Travel is setting up a trip this September. I think you guys are going.
Yes.
We will certainly try to put something together that I would love for you to bring there as well. And but also start thinking about, for residents manufacture things, make things. It's about an exchange of goods, things that we can distribute out there. It's also an important part, too, is to think economically. So, again, thank you so much for all you do.
I'd like to add one other thing. Frank Pagano's over in Italy right now,
That's right.
and he just left Asiago. And the word spread amongst the families over there. He said he didn't leave. He enjoyed himself so much in the way they treated them, based on the way Lockport treated the Passans and the people from Asiago. So you
That's good. That was
a lot to
fun.
be proud of. It's a great city, and you represented our end of things real well.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, guys. All righty, well, let's move on to the serious business of the city, eh? What do you guys want to talk? We got reconstruction that's under the mayor's report. We got J.J. Bennis here to talk about that.
Yes, we do, Mayor. If you recall, the council at a previous meeting, we were discussing traffic options on the 13th Street intersection there, kind of over by Sizzles. We had made some adaptations to the stop sign and location, and I think one of the aldermen asked us to officially take a look at some options, and I know that they're going to just speak about a few and kind of reiterate those to you.
Oh, just quickly, John, I have your card. We do it at open comment, so after, it's at the end of this part of the meeting, so don't feel like you're left out. All right, please, sir.
Thanks. I'm Brad Hargo with James Bennison Associates, and we're the design engineers for this project.
Move the mic up, please.
Sure. And the PowerPoint, I get it pulled up here or switched over? Oh, escape. Got it. Hold on, let's see. There we are. The section of 13th Street that we're talking about is between Madison Street and Lincoln Street. It's surrounded by mainly residential properties. There's a commercial restaurant at the west side of 13th and Division. Also, the Lockport Township High School is at the northwest corner of 13th and Madison. The configuration or layout of 13th Street is dependent upon the measured methods or means of how we modify the intersection, if we modify the intersection or the five-pointed intersection of 13th Division, Lincoln, and East Street. Let me switch over to here. I think, as you know, this is a confusing intersection. The primary movement that causes a lot of conflicts is eastbound 13th Street. The stop bar's set pretty far back, which causes drivers confusion. Should they pull forward when it's their turn to move through the intersection, or should they pull up to the Division Street stop bar? Another movement that has a potential for accidents is the eastbound Division Street. If a vehicle is pulled up to the stop bar, a second one pulls up behind him and wishes to turn left, he may do that prior to his turn getting to the stop bar. In other words, it could have a chance of a angle or a sideswipe accident. We did pull the crashes for the last 5 years. Surprisingly, there was only one accident, one crash. It was I think it was in 2011. It was a rear-end type collision eastbound Division Street. We also took a look at did some traffic counts to come up with and see what the predominant traffic movements were. Along 13th Street, the predominant is westbound. Division Street, it's eastbound, and there was a little more traffic volumes in the AM versus the PM or the evening. Also, it was noticed that there's a lot of pass-through traffic going through 13th Street, not a lot of, it's a lot of people going to other destinations. This is kind of just what we just talked about. Even though the history of the crashes did not indicate that there's really a problem or a history of crashes, taking a quick look, being proactive to avoid the potentials of a serious collision, also trying to streamline the intersection, the way it operates. We came up with 5 different alternatives. First being you could close 13th Street at a connector road at Johnson Street. And I'll go through these in more detail. I got some slides that kind of show what these impacts look like. Second would be one-way westbound on 13th Street with parking on the north side. It'd be dedicated parking. Then basically it's a play on that. It's one-way westbound with parking on the south side. Fourth option would be two-way traffic, basically maintaining what's out there now and restrict the movement into 13th Street just one-way westbound at Division. And you could always do nothing, leave the configuration as it is. This is the first alternative. It's the most radical. It would change. It'd be kind of consistent as you go further to the west. Some of these other intersections are similar to this. We're cutting off the 13th Street connection at the Division and Lincoln Street intersection. That becomes a typical or standard four-way type of intersection. Pedestrian crossings and sight lines are a little more, they're streamlined. The parking along 13th Street would remain as it is. It's unprotected parking along both sides. The green space, you kind of get you could have more green space at that northwest corner. Another thing to point out is this would require land acquisition to get that connector road kind of in the middle there. That'd be a connector road from Johnson Street. You'd want to line it up too. You wouldn't want to shift it. You'd want it lined up with that intersection. The next alternative was one-way westbound on 13th Street. This would preserve the predominant traffic movement, which was westbound, and it would eliminate the eastbound the eastbound problematic movement. Let's see, you would be able to get a little green space at the intersection, increase it, and kind of improve some of the pedestrian crossings a little bit. One thing to point out is on the west end of the project, it wouldn't line up with the traffic on the west side of Madison, so you would have to taper it or angle it a little bit. To eliminate that tapering or angling, you could move the parking to the south side. However, that's not the conventional way that a vehicle or driving that you would normally recognize parking. It's not normally on the left side, it's on the right side. And that could increase crashes or accidents if someone not familiar with the parking. The fourth alternate was to basically maintain two-way traffic for majority of 13th Street. However, cutting off the problematic movement, the eastbound movement, right at the intersection, only allowing eastbound traffic into 13th Street. Parking would basically be as it is today. You'd permit it and allow it along both sides, unprotected. And then the do-nothing kind of case or alternate, you would basically just permit the problematic movement, that eastbound movement, through the intersection. So that's kind of just a quick overrun of the scenarios or options of reconstructing this section of 13th Street. If you want, we'll ask questions.
Actually, I think there's an additional alternative as far as making this intersection safer or easier to go through. Deputy Chief Draxler, about a year ago, suggested that on 13th Street facing southeast, move that stop sign further out so the traffic facing east
You
on
could-
Division Street.
There's other things, yeah, you could move that up. You could prohibit the left turn from 13th Street, or eastbound Division Street, making a left going westbound on 13th, you'd want to cut that off as you move the stop sign closer. Just because a vehicle, you're starting to restrict the turning movements of a vehicle to physically make that maneuver.
Can you show the aerial?
Most
Can you show the
cars
aerial? The 5
Going
corners?
east on Division, they're not going to turn left on 13th. They're not going to.
There were some movements that, over the time frame, when we did the counts, there were some people that did that, surprisingly.
All right.
Go back to the satellite image with the 5 corners, if you would, untouched in the beginning of your presentation, please.
Which,
Keep going back.
Slide at the
The
beginning.
aerial,
oh,
like
sure,
Google Earth?
sure. You want the blown up of the
There
intersection?
you go, there you go. So if we, are you saying that we could stripe basically a pie-shaped corner right
Basically-
there and put some delineators in and move the stop sign closer to the
Or you
intersection?
can pull this curb line further to the east and making that radius smaller, maybe a little bit of striping in here too. And what you're doing is you're cutting off any probability or possibility that someone would want to make
left turn,
that kind of a U-turn movement. That also gets, you're trying to move this stop bar closer to the intersection, just because it is confusing, where do you go, because it is so far back. That is a possible,
Well, let me ask you guys, are we having this discussion because 13th Street is coming up for reconstruction?
it is.
Is it full reconstruction, like it's going to get
full
widened and all that stuff?
It's full reconstruction, and it will be widened out.
Okay.
It's currently less than, we're proposing
Okay.
28 feet.
So they could include these conversations with the, I don't know, Amy, with the residents at the public meetings, but usually when they have those meetings, they're kind of already planning what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So that's why I think they just, again, I don't remember where the original conversation come from, and I apologize, I don't remember which alderman it was, but the debate came up a few months ago, and, staff isn't necessarily having a recommendation at this point. We can work with the engineering department and the designer and the residents and come up with one, or we can kind of replace it as is.
I think we should ask the residents for their input, because they're going to be the most affected up and down 13th Street. I think putting Johnson Street going all the way through 13th Street, that's going to take parking spaces away from Sizzles.
Yeah.
I don't
It
think that's-
would.
I don't think you want that, and I don't
We
think,
don't want that.
plus you got the Lockport Township buses coming up and down, high school buses using
Yeah,
that route.
there'd have to be coordination with the school district for the bus routes. You could put parking along here to compensate or mitigate for that connector route. You could put parallel angled parking along that south side of 13th Street. You could cut that in.
I would definitely, I agree with the council. I think having the conversation with residents, like one of the options, with the one-way, I can't imagine anybody there liking that. And so, some of this stuff is, I think, dependent on the residents. But as far as that, I agree with that option number 5, quite frankly. I hit this intersection almost every day, bringing Nellie to school, and I'm very well aware of it. So it always seems to me that if that point just came out further, so the stop sign were closer to like you said, there's hardly any accidents. The only time it's ever tricky, I've found, is if somebody hasn't been in this intersection before, they're going east on Division, they're stopped at the stop sign, and they don't realize a guy is coming up behind them.
Right.
So if that stop sign is moved out further, they'll see him. So to me, just moving that point up, I think would be a tremendous
Would
help.
definitely be an improvement in what's out there.
And then it doesn't disrupt residents, getting only a one-way street, doesn't involve land acquisition. I think it's a pretty simple maneuver. But again, I think having a discussion with the residents is important. Now, let me ask, this comes up to another question, which has to do with reconstruction. And Amy, if you don't like to see your eyes on this one too, is that you know, I know that when we reconstruct the road, you know, there's a standard and we go wider. That happened on Jefferson Street, you know, and it looks really bizarre. You know, it's just, I know that the proper width of a street, you know, if you're planning a city from scratch is, I was at 27 feet now or something. But it just looks bizarre. And is it absolutely necessary to do these kinds of things? Does it break up the integrity of our old part of town where the streets are just narrower? I mean, in this particular spot, you're really going to be eating up a lot of yard on people. How do they feel about that? And look, I get it. I remember on Garfield when you're like, do you guys want sidewalks? We don't want sidewalks. And you put in, where's our sidewalks? I get it. People don't really always understand when they say they don't want something, and I get it until they see it, and then they're upset when they didn't get it. So I understand the dilemma. But just as the old part of town, widening streets, and if you widen the street, how does that affect extending this? Because if you come in another 5 feet, you can't necessarily go east as much as you would if it were left alone. So I don't know, there's just some of the things that I'd like to think about as you guys consider widening every street in the old part of town when you reconstruct it. It's beautiful when it's done, but it does look really bizarre to have these gigantic wide spots when the rest of the area has a little more quaint look.
Yeah, and first of all, you know, I wanted to reiterate, this is one of the reasons why we did this alternatives analysis, was because, you know, although there has only been one accident at this intersection, the potential for a serious accident is there. So what I didn't want to happen was I didn't want to hire an engineering firm to go in and just reconstruct the road exactly the way it is now to the standards and everything, and then have an accident occur later and then have somebody come back and say, you know, you just reconstructed this road, why didn't you do something to improve the intersection? You know, so that is why I wanted to have this alternatives analysis done, have everybody have input on it, so that when or if something like that does happen in the future, they can't come back and say that we did nothing. You know, that was the reason for the alternatives analysis, is for the widening of the city streets. If you'll recall, we don't have to widen the city streets to 28 feet everywhere, but when you don't, there is the potential for later on people coming back saying, why didn't you widen our street the way you did the street next to us? If you'll recall...
Send them to me and I'll tell them because it looks weird. That's why.
Well, if you'll recall, back in 2000 when we redid Beamy Street was constructed as is with the width that it was there because the residents were complaining that they were going to lose their parkway parking and stuff. So the city went in and put new curb and gutter in, and they just, you know, put the roadway in at the width it was now. Well, when we got ready to do the water main replacement program, we had umpteen residents calling us up saying, are you going to reconstruct the road and widen it the way you do all the other roads? Well, no, because we just did it in 2000, and we did it, you know. And so, you know, there's that back and forth of people that want it widened, they want it done to city standard, and then there's people that don't want it done to city standard. So, I mean, you know, if we're just going in and we're resurfacing a road and we're, you know, repairing or maybe replacing the curb and gutter like we did on Jefferson Street or Hamilton Street and 3rd Street between State and Hamilton and that section of Hamilton Street, you know, we weren't fully reconstructing the road. We were just resurfacing it and replacing the curb. It's okay to do it not to standard in that situation because we're just basically putting a Band-Aid on it to make it last for a few more years until we have the money to fully reconstruct it. But if we're spending the money to fully reconstruct a road, in my opinion, we should be doing it to city standards where at all possible.
And one other thing, it is more consistent, that width in this particular case with the section just to the west side of Madison. I believe it's a little wider than what's out there now. It's closer to 28 feet.
I think one thing for the mayor and the residents to understand also is when you have parking on the street also, once you start shortening them up a little bit, now you have cars trying to negotiate next to each other. If there's cars parked, then clipping mirrors and stuff. So getting it that full width, if permissible, I think is the way to go. And would ask, I was so confused with this, Amy, your explanation totally would have been great in the beginning before this, because I had no clue why we were talking about this or anything, so. I'm like, what did, filled it in backwards.
I
So,
like to make a comment.
I'm good now.
I actually live on East Street, and I guarantee you that there has been nobody has gone through this intersection more in the last 23 years since I've lived in my house than me. Probably an average of 10 times a day for over 20 years. I have never seen an accident. I have never seen busted taillights from an accident. I have seen some people that get confused coming off of 13th Street going east. The confusion lasts about a second and a half. I just don't understand what the issue is about people getting confused at this intersection, because they don't. They just, my experience does not dictate any change in this intersection, because I live it, okay? The only thing that I would think that would even remotely make sense is to extend the point out 5, 6, 7 feet. It's not gonna change people's habits at all, but we could do it. The striping in the middle of the street, that's not gonna do anything. It's not gonna change people's habits. This is something here is, the explanation of why it is the way it is because of the configuration of the canal and the configuration of State Street. It doesn't go a straight north, south, east, west there. We've got the angles coming up, so when people say, why is it this way? It's because of the layout of following the canal when they laid out the roads back in 1850, okay? I think it would be a waste of money, a waste of taxpayers' money to do anything other than option number 5, which is to do nothing, okay? I have no problems with bringing 13th Street to code or whatever we're gonna call it, to 20, but what's gonna happen is people are gonna lose half of their front yards, okay? And it's gonna look ridiculous. It's one of the things that makes Lockport quaint, okay? We could go ahead and be in the middle of Illinois, and we go to county seats, and everybody has a square. And everybody goes around the square, and after a while, people get used to going around the square. I just, anything other than option number 5 I will be a no vote in the future if any option other than option 5 comes up.
Can I ask a question? When you're saying do nothing, that's reconstructing that. 13th Street's getting reconstructed.
Right, he's talking about how to deal with the intersection.
Because it sounds like just you expanding it too, you have an issue with expanding it.
No, my issue is the whole, something could happen.
Oh, okay.
Here's
I
a
agree.
here's a
Okay, I got
guarantee.
you.
Sometime in the future, there's gonna be an accident there. We can't make a decision here based upon what might happen in the next 30 seconds or the next 20 years, okay? It's gonna happen, there's gonna be an accident. But to go ahead and reconfigure reconfigure how it is, it comes in this 5 corners, okay? When my experience does not dictate any change in how it is, because I've lived it.
All right, anything else? Joanne, you want to say something?
Yeah, I do. In all due respect, and I understand what Darren is talking about. However, though, someone coming into town, that is a little confusing. Everyone looks at each other, who's gonna go next if they're not sure. So that, not that it can cause an accident, however, though, it is confusing. I think it needs to be a little bit more clear. Maybe a sign saying, stop signs at all corners, so that way everybody kind of judges then. If they get there first, they know they go next. Something needs to be done, but maybe not to the extreme of, reconstruction all those streets, but perhaps something needs to be done to make it a little bit more clear.
We did that last year.
We actually put a sign up.
Put a sign there that absolutely, positively, nobody in the city of Lockport, any visitor has ever seen.
I don't think so. I think it's noticeable. I go through it, and the last, look, I hate getting this involved in this kind of stuff. This is really staff stuff, and you guys are capable. I get it. So I know we're not all traffic engineers and these kind of things. You know, if the street's wider, and then you try to extend this point, like Bob and I seem to think is a good idea, I don't know if really, depending on how, the wider you go, you can't extend it that much further anyway, so maybe it doesn't work. I don't know how much wider the street will look if you know, if the thought of doing a full reconstruction width is there or not. So, but I think any of this other stuff is just too disruptive and unnecessary. That's just my opinion on it. But really, I would definitely ask that you have one of your meetings, and I know how it goes, Amy. You send the notes, let's have a meeting, nobody shows up, but they're all angry as bees when that happens. So, it's the way it goes, I get it. But you can't say we didn't try. So,
Yeah, and I just want to say, I mean, I haven't come to this intersection very often, actually until Sizzles went in. But I live in a different part of town, and my first time that I came up there, you know, it was different. So it was a little bit confusing, but what that caused me to do was pay more attention. So I understand Alderman Deskin's point of view that it's not confusing to him. He's lived there. He knows what's going on with it. But I think also on the flip side of it, somebody that comes up to the intersection for the first time, you realize that it's different, and it causes you to look around and pay more attention. So, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to looking into maybe moving the stop sign a little bit, but as far as, you know, taking part of the parking lot there, these other configurations, reconfigurations, I don't think it's needed.
all right.
So why don't we let staff, you know, meet with the community and kind of show the way it is with just some additional striping and trying to push that corner out, and if everyone's okay with it, we'll pretty much leave it alone.
Okay, sounds good. All right, crew, thanks. Darren, you forget how confusing it was when you came up to that intersection on your green machine when you were 8 years old, first time?
I was going to Annie's.
You going to Andy's?
Going to Annie's.
He never drives through the intersection, he's only walking it. So I don't know.
And only JR and Brian would understand what I just said.
I get it. All right, my friends, let's mosey on. Pam, what do you got?
Yes, first and foremost, I would like to welcome George and Kiki Gatsis to Lockport Community. They've recently purchased the building at 117 East 9th Street. And immediately as they purchased that building, you know, they took a really good hard look at the condition of it. And they are requesting this evening a facade grant so that they can do various improvements to the storefront. They're looking to rebuild the first floor storefront windows, the bulkhead. Currently, the storefront has deteriorated and damaged wood, cracked glass, and the west window is actually concaved and appears to be collapsing in on itself. And you can really see that in the pictures that were included in your packet. The property is in the historic district. The request did go to the Heritage and Architectural Commission. They did approve the proposed improvements, and that was on June 18th. The contractor estimate that's also included in your packet is for $16,405.32. Based on this amount and based on the facade grant guidelines, Mr. Gatsis is eligible for $8,202.66, which would be 50% of the project costs. As the council recalls, with this fiscal year budget, we did put $40,000 allocated specifically to this program. And this is the first application that's received for 2015. With that being said, staff is recommending approval of the facade grant for the reimbursement of the amount I stated. The building is eligible and the work is within the scope of the program. However, as with all of our facade grant requests, the money will not be paid out until the work is completed and proof of payment has been provided. Staff is asking to place this on the July 15th City Council agenda for action. And the Gatsises are here this evening if you'd like to meet them and ask any questions about the project.
All right, sounds good. Well, welcome, Gatsis. Thank you. You guys are lawyers, both of you, or?
No.
Yeah, come on up. We'll say hi. Very good.
How are you? Good evening, board members,
Hello.
city attorney, Mr. Mayor, and city council. First of all, thank you for welcoming us to Lockport. I feel like I've been a Lockport resident forever, because I've been here since 1969 in Homer Township and had a Lockport address till 2001, when Homer Glen Incorporated. Had to change my address, and I had my law office since 1977. You're probably familiar with the signs out there on 159th and 143rd. I've been around forever. So, and I always felt like a Lockport resident. So now we're officially in Lockport with our business, which...
To bring one of your tractors over.
Pardon me?
You got to bring one of your tractors over.
Right.
That's gonna go in the parking lot there.
Yeah. Oh, I like old tractors. I'm one of them old John Deere guys, you know. But anyway, you've got the paperwork in front of you, and we've applied for the facade grant, and we are, if you've seen the building already, we did a lot of remodeling inside already, and we'd like to fix up that front so it looks more, well, it looks
Clean it up.
professional, clean it up a little bit. The windows are, as you can see they are cracked and it's caving in. So basically, we want to replace two of the windows and make them, as you can see there, just double pane windows, because right now they're single pane. And back then, I think it was 83 when the windows were constructed, when the building was, not the building is 94 years old, but the windows were redone, I think, in 83, 84. And at that time, the glass, it's really a 1/4 of an inch glass pane. At that time, the R value was better, but now
No, we
it's
get it,
not,
man.
so we're going with
It's okay.
double pane.
You don't have to go on. We get
Okay.
it. It's all good. I
Basically,
just wanted to say hi.
Any questions?
And that's really all it was. No, I mean, it fits perfectly within our facade grant, so that's all good. Hope you guys, keep looking at that Greek restaurant next door. Yes, let's put that up. Then that'd be nice. But any case, we appreciate you being here. Does anybody have any questions?
We're happy to be here.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Welcome.
All good?
Welcome.
Yes, welcome.
Well, let's put it on as a consent agenda. It's fine with me. So, okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All righty. Benjamin.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. The next item on your agenda, CA1, it's a request for an extension of a contract for design, engineering, and construction administration on vaults along State Street to coordinate with the 2017 IDOT improvement project. IDOT's going to be filling vaults down between 8th and 10th in 2017, along with the resurfacing and adding a turn lane on State Street. Part of our agreement with IDOT for the shared cost of the project was for us to coordinate with the local building owners in bricking up those vaults from the inside. We had, back in September of 2014, I came to the council and we spent $11,900 in preparing some vault work and paperwork to coordinate with IDOT vaults outside of their project, but we needed to go ahead and continue on and make sure that the vaults in the project are going to be closed up properly before they dig up State Street. So staff is recommending the extension of this previous contract. It's going to be an additional $32,900. And I've got George here from V3. He's our consultant with IDOT on this project. Certainly open to any questions, but one of the things I wanted to clarify that the actual construction cost inside these buildings will be burdened by the city. The city of Lockport will have to have that expense. It'll be part of our budgeting and project for that improvement at that time.
Okay. Yeah, George, anybody else have any questions for George on this? You guys clear with what's going on? Okay. So just so I understand it, like Ben, I was going to go here, but we'll continue with the engineering, figure out how these walls need to be built, how these enclosures need to happen. Is it more, it's got to be more than just bricking it up, no? It's got to be.
They're bricked and pinned to the existing walls, and then there's the relocation of utilities. A number of the vaults have different utilities that will have to be relocated. Some electrical lines will have to be taken out of the vaults and then, taken back to their fuse boxes to make them safe and things like that. Okay. So it's a variety of different utility things have to be taken care of, and then just get it ready to be filled by IDOT. IDOT will come in then once they're blocked up and secured, and they'll backfill them and then replace the sidewalks over the top.
Okay. Now, I know I've got at least 2 property owners down there who've asked about keeping their vaults, and you know, I said, it's going to be your dime. I mean, if you guys are going to have to, you know, put I don't know what IDOT would require, if they even allowed it, but I just want to make sure that our engineering and what we're doing is the cost of closing them up. Any expenses that go with people keeping their vaults is outside of this purview. Is that correct?
That is correct, and, you know, we have approached that subject with IDOT, and they're not real receptive to keeping those vaults. There's no real record of how those were allowed to be constructed in the first place under permit and what the requirements are. So right now, they're saying if you wanted to keep that vault, that each property owner would have to apply for their own permit and get individual approval to keep the vault and make it safe. And they would also have to approve the use of that vault within the public right-of-way.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be a difficult threshold to meet.
So
I
these
think
vaults are
staff has
actually,
been clear with that, right? You guys have been telling those.
Yes, we've been dealing with those building owners, that we have been making those attempts and having those discussions. But at the end of the day, it is state right-of-way, and they would have to have a separate permit in order to build within the right-of-way. My guess is it'll be denied, but we're going to help them through the process and continue to ask, because the use is unique, and one in a very unique corner that may be able to be saved, but for the most part, the vaults are going to be filled.
Yeah, okay, all right. Any other questions?
we don't want that holding up their project, right?
No,
Correct,
it can't.
correct,
We got to
no.
get that project done fast. That's got to be a tear the Band-Aid off quick.
If they were to prove something, that would be done in advance of all this.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Any other questions?
You good with the consent on this? All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on down. Fräulein Wagner. Is this you?
Amy, yes.
Amy.
Director of Engineering. She doesn't speak German.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, during the construction of the 10th and Jefferson Street reconstruction project, the city removed parkway parking at 926 Madison Street per city ordinance. The owner of this property, William Martin, has a 3-unit rental property there and has applied for reinstallation of the parkway parking. Because the city removed this as part of the construction project, Mr. Martin does not feel that he should incur 100% of the cost to reinstall this parking. Christiane actually put the memo together, and she included the applicable city ordinances and the qualifications that are required to approve a parkway parking permit. And basically, there needs to be some sort of parking hardship. Neither Christiana nor I feel that this property owner has a hardship, and we are recommending against approving the application. We find the parkway parking to be unnecessary, and there are also alternatives that were given to the property owner for additional parking if he feels that he needs additional parking.
If I understand right, inadvertently, the scoop was put in as if it were going back in, like the curb wasn't a straight curb.
Yeah.
Something that we should consider, if we move forward with keeping it as is right now, do we fix that curb? It's got to look weird, no?
I wouldn't, because one of the alternatives that we have given to the property owner for additional property or additional parking would be to install like a driveway apron on that side of the property with parking on his property side of the sidewalk there.
Oh, I see. So you
And
could
so
access it
if he
over the
decides to
curb,
do
over the
that,
sidewalk.
yeah, if
Okay.
he decides to do that, then that would keep him from having to do a curb cut.
Okay.
Also, because there is a positive slope towards the road in that location,
Yeah.
the lack of the back of the curb there is not really causing any kind of drainage situation. So there's not really any reason for us to put that back in.
Okay. All right. Questions?
Yeah, I do. It just gives the appearance of, he's asking for a variance, correct?
Yes.
So if he's asking for a variance, that is the purview of the planning commission, and it's not the purview of the city council.
No, because this is governed under the municipal code.
Yeah.
Well, isn't what the planning commission does if he's planned? We had a discussion with the Episcopal, one of those churches, Episcopal Church, when they wanted to go ahead and do an extension. They wanted to build the addition onto their church, and they wanted to extend across into the parkway, and they were not allowed to do that because of city code, and they did not get the variance that they requested. And it was discussed at length at this time, and my comments at the time were, this sounds like he's looking for a variance, and that is not the purview of the city council, that is the purview of the planning commission.
Darren, I think the difference is he's not actually asking for a variance right now. He's just saying, you took out parking, I want it back. Please put it back.
But our ordinance, he is asking for a variance, because our ordinance says, that when we go ahead and we do these full reconstructions, the parkways are taken out. And so if we make the exception, this is a variance. And if there's going to be a variance request, then he would have to follow the channels for the variance request to go ahead and that is not our purview.
No.
I know, but that's not the question at hand.
No.
It hasn't requested one.
Yeah, no, the reason why it's not a variance is because it says that in the code, but it also says you could get that restored if you come before and ask to have permission to
Hardship.
put it back in. It's not a variance, it's just to get the permit that he wants to be able to put it back in, it has to go before council for approval.
Well, I've driven by there. There's a 3-car garage. There's enough room for at least 8 cars, if not more, in that driveway. I don't see what the hardship is.
Exactly. And that's why we recommended against it. There's not a hardship.
And it's for sale.
And staff did give an alternate where they could put a driveway in on their own expense. I mean, to put back the parkway parking, which has been our policy to remove, would be
Yes,
on our
but then-
dime.
But then it opens up for anybody along
Right.
any street that
That's
wants to
why
go
we-
ahead and put in a driveway.
Yeah.
Staff has made a motion to deny.
But we didn't say that he could put back his parkway parking. We said that he could construct a driveway to parking on the property, on the other side of the sidewalk. So basically,
But there isn't any
construct.
hardship for that either.
Yeah, look,
Well, there's nothing in our ordinance prohibiting him from doing that. He can have another driveway entrance off of his property because he is on a corner lot and there's more than, what, is that supposed to be like 150 feet or something like that between the entrances? So there's nothing in our ordinances that says he can't do that. So we listed that as an alternative. You know, you can't have your parkway parking back. We're not going to construct it back for you. But if you feel like you need additional parking, here's an option for you, because there's nothing in our ordinance that
Even know why he was
keeps us from.
extended an option.
well, he can build a driveway.
Yeah, he can still do that.
Yeah.
That's something he could do. All right,
Is the petitioner here, or does he want to be heard?
did you want to speak, sir, about it?
Well, you're right about there being ample room in the driveway for cars. However, it being a 3-family dwelling, it's only a 2-car wide drive. And getting cars out that are blocked in, right now, the families are calling each other saying, will you move your car so I can get out?
But you could sell this, and it's for sale, and if you sell this place, and the next owner decides that he doesn't want to have a 3-flat, he wants to have a single-family home, which has with a 3-stall garage, then what we're doing here is we're making an exception. In the event this comes up for a vote in 2 weeks, I will be a no.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's obvious why we're getting rid of the parkways. We're trying to bring it back to single-family homes without telling people, look, you can't sell your home unless it's single-family. We're not going to put that kind of burden on you. You bought it as a multi-unit, you want to sell it as a multi-unit, that's fine. But we're not here, we're trying to discourage, as we move forward, from the multi-unit homes in the historic district. A lot of towns do that. It's about bringing them up. It's about bringing their value up. That's why we're getting rid of the parkways as we go. So I will be a no vote on it as well. The option to build a driveway is fine. If the next owner feels that they need to do that, you know, they have a curb cut already for them. So,
Or you, if you want to do that.
yeah, if you feel it adds value, that's fine. So how do we do this? We just put this on, up for a vote next council?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have anything you want to say, sir? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Great,
All
thank
right, we'll put it up for a vote next meeting, action item. Okay. Well, number 9.
Okay, as you all are aware, we had a bid letting a few months ago for the well number 9 iron filtration facility, and in the midst of the bid letting and contract award, we had a collapse of well number 9, which caused us to let those bids expire and reevaluate the situation with the well before proceeding with the iron filtration project. We have gotten information from Strand that we will be allowed to re-drill that shallow well in the same location. So we have a proposal from Strand Engineering for putting together the contract documents and doing the engineering for the re-drilling of well number 9. And then also, we have another proposal to evaluate the other wells in town, to take a look at them and make sure that we don't have any other wells that are in a similar condition that need maintenance so that they don't collapse. And then also evaluate future water supply options for the city as far as we did the well 14 study, and it didn't come back very favorable for shallow wells. The Heinz Emerald Dragonfly habitat kind of put the kibosh on all of our locations for drilling shallow wells. So if we're going to have to eventually expand our water supply at some point, and we need to know where that water supply is coming from. So we have 2 different contracts before you. One is for the re-drilling, design, and bidding related services for well number 9 in the amount of $41,700. And the second one is for the future water supply report and the evaluation of the rest of the existing wells for $34,600.
Questions, comments?
I got a couple of questions. One, first on the re-drilling. After we award a contract for the re-drilling, then do we go right back to the iron removal bid? Will that is automatically, or is that going to be rebid? Or does it not need the iron once we re-drill, or what's the status of that project?
It will still need the iron removal. I think the goal is to have iron removal put on that well, and that's why we're re-drilling it. So that was an IEPA low-interest loan project. So we kind of have that loan on hold right now. Am I correct? That we have it on hold right now until we get the issue with the well settled, and then we can go back to that process and rebid the project and then go through the loan process the way we originally planned to.
Okay.
To be rebid?
Yeah.
Do you have bids already?
They were allowed to expire because they were only good for a certain amount of time, and because of the well collapse and the fact that we had to take a look at the well and decide what we were going to do, we couldn't keep stringing the contractors along, so we had to let them expire. So we will have to rebid it.
And my second question on the second contract, the water supply report. Just a quick explanation to me. 4 years ago, when that council, that was obviously the water issues were a big deal. I mean, shutting down this well, shutting down that well, getting the pumping increased out of another well. What has happened in 4 years that we have to restudy? Wouldn't we have all that information basically available on how our wells are operating, or what am I? And if it's changing that much, and if we pay them Strand to do a new study, is this something that we need to be like, plan to act on right away? I mean, if we get results that there's a bad well, or we need to drill another, I mean, this is something, then we also have to budget for doing more work, like in a year, 2 years after the study?
Yeah, I think the fear is that there was not, there were maintenance things that could have been done to salvage this well, and we want to make sure that the rest of the wells in town, if there are the possibility for something like this to happen to any of the other wells, that we are being proactive and making sure that the maintenance is being done on these wells, and that the things that can be done are done before we have a collapse in another well.
So then just to clarify, because I'm, of a similar opinion, it's like, I've always felt like we had studies coming out of the years. I mean, this sounds like it's not a study for capacity necessarily. Those are the ones that have been done.
It's a combination. It's a combination of capacity and condition and maintenance requirements and future water supply. So it's kind of a,
And these aren't studies that you feel, well, besides from capacity, but some of these other aspects of it you feel are things that are new, not stuff that we have sitting on a shelf from the last couple of years.
correct.
I think that's where the confusion is, that checking our existing wells and capacity and fixing them before they
big
go
part of it.
bad is one subject.
Yeah.
Future of drilling something else somewhere, I think that's what everyone's saying. Isn't there reports that we already have this information
Right.
done?
Well, and there was, back in the mid-2000s, there was a Robinson Engineering report completed on the wells, and there were a bunch of different well sites selected, and there was a big study done on all of the well sites. But, and you might want to come up here and elaborate on this, none of those well sites are viable right now because of the Heinz Emerald Dragonfly habitat, that we won't be allowed to drill any of those wells. So.
Their report is we can use 0 of those sites that they even had in there.
That's correct. That's what we found with the Well 14 study. And that environmental area, just with this last Well 14 study that we did, the 1 mile setback, which we were outside of, turned into a 2 mile setback. They basically increased it to where now the entire city of Lockport is within an environmentally protected area for this shallow groundwater. So we quickly briefly turned to deep wells, maybe as a way to say that. And I don't know if you guys remember, but not too many years ago, you dumped concrete down all your deep wells because of the radium issue. And Joliet, the city of Joliet, has an expanding drawdown that's making deep wells tougher and tougher. And so then we threw the question out to CMAP, what do we do? And I've got the email where they said, maybe you should think about lake water. And I don't know if you remember not too many years ago, you gave up your lake water allocation. So that's where the water really got muddy quick on where's the next tap that Lockport's going to go to for supply. And that's the second phase of this proposal, is to get everybody on board with the direction for the next well, be it deep well on the north side away from the city of Joliet, be it a connection to Illinois American. I don't want to get too much over. For lake water in Homer Glen, but what is the source that is viable, that everybody can stand behind and say, okay, City of Lockport, you can have that water.
I haven't heard another option. The other option is we get the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and everybody else is so concerned about this dragonfly, and we get them here with our congressman, and if we're lucky enough, one of our senators, and we let them go ahead and give the gibberish about the dragonfly. Okay? We can do it. Because it's been done in the past.
I agree that that's an option.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say it's option number one.
It actually is a good option. I mean, the idea that, like, look, if the people in office in Springfield and Washington, that's the stance they're going to take, then let them come up here and defend it. Because, if it comes between us drinking water and a dragonfly drinking water, I have a vote on that one. So It's true. Let him come up here and defend it as opposed to
Certainly,
just mandating.
well site number 14, I think is what we're calling it, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when we're going to need that additional source, preferably something in the high zone. We've run into IEPA issues in regards to where we can site that, so part of this is kind of helping that. I think we could do both. I think we need to continue on with this task order, and then if we want to have a political debate with the government as we proceed on those paths, then we've doubled down our bet.
Okay.
So can I ask one more question? And I think I know the answer I'm going to hear, but I have to hear myself ask it anyways, which is almost always one of my questions. But as far as I know, we've been happy with Strand. Things have been going really well. But is there a reason that we don't have another party look at this, right? Put it out to bid, whatever it may be, but get a different opinion. Like I said, Strand hasn't gotten us wrong. This isn't meant to be retribution for anything, but actually, I'll stop because I think I'm going to answer my own question because I think I know your answer, but why wouldn't we go somewhere else, seek another opinion, or open this up for bid?
Well, and I know where you're going with this, and I completely agree that, having one engineering firm like doing everything is not the way to go. We were stuck in that position at one point in time, and we definitely don't want to go back to this. However, when you're considering water and sewer issues, if you go to another engineering firm at this point and say, we need a study of our water system, then they are going to have to go back to the beginning and study everything all over again. So the task order is going to be a lot more than $34,600 because that new consultant is not going to know anything about our water system from the
We've
get-go.
already commissioned Strand to study our past studies, so to do that a third time.
I know,
is-
and I knew that was going to be the answer, but it's almost, I did.
Yeah.
And again, it's nothing against Strand, but right, we've gotten ourselves in trouble taking recommendations from just one group, and then, maybe they didn't consider the Dragonfly or whatever it is, right? And I know
Every
nothing
few
about this, but I
years-
just always feel like opening it up and seeing if somebody else would come in with a competitive bid might not be the worst idea.
Well, and you got to be careful with coming in with a competitive bid because for professional engineering services, we are not allowed to go out to bid. We are not allowed to get proposals and pick the lowest proposal for professional engineering services. That's against the law.
I could sit up here for years and I'm never going to get that because it's always going to drive. It just that doesn't. Okay.
Every few years,
Architects are the same way.
I actually knew the answer.
It's smarter for that. You pick an expert that's somebody on his qualifications
I
that
know,
knows
I
water or not. The burden is on Amy to hold Chris's feet to the fire to say, let me check at what you're doing, and you're doing it right. And if there's anything that's coming back, that Amy has to bring that to us.
I know, and I knew the answer to my question was going to be one of two: either we can't, or it's going to cost a lot more, and it actually ended up being both.
In 2013, Amy and I solicited proposals for qualifications from, I don't know, about 6-8 different types of firms, and we went through an exhaustive process because we had some direction from council that we didn't want to be utilizing Robinson and their direction at the time. And so doing that every few years or so is a healthy debate, and we can certainly do that, but I think, Strand is our horse right now, and to go back and kind of do that a little too short, I think would be a bigger cost that we don't need right now, and I think we're going in a direction that's healthy, so.
And when we came in here, we didn't, you had a direction going, and we didn't want to perpetuate any constant changing of directions as new engineers, and that's what Well 14 was. It was staying with the direction that the city was heading as we came in, with staying with shallow wells as high up in elevation as possible so that the water gets to the lower side of town without having energy to add to it. But that's where this roadblock was encountered with this expansion of the area of interest for the Dragonfly, and I agree with you. I think that this report that comes out of this is something that's you can hand to a congressman to give him the background to say, you have to let us go with the shallow well.
Is that a state thing or is it a federal thing?
It's Department of Natural Resources, Fish and Wildlife that is protecting that area. And
Emerald
they do have
Hines,
the water
yeah.
rights to do that.
And then,
But Illinois, not.
Yes, correct, Illinois Department.
and the other realistic concern is we call it the Joliet Cone of Depression. I mean, there's a very large, it's drawing, right? I mean, it's drawing.
Go turn off the tap over there.
There
Tom knows where the taps are.
There is precedent, okay, and I was part of the precedent, okay? Back when Prairie Bluff Golf Course they were within days of opening, and they got a cease and desist from that federal group because somebody found on an 1870 topographical map, I kid you not, a 6-foot by 9-foot swale. That the Fed said, well, this could be used as a breeding ground for the dragonfly. I wrote 3 letters. 2 letters were to Harris Faywell. I wrote Harris Faywell, who was our congressman at the time, and our senator at the time, 2 senators at the time, one of whom was Carol Mosley Brown, and I don't remember who the other one was at the time. And this was on a Monday, and on a Thursday, the director of the...
How long is this going to last?
No, the point is, okay, when it was pointed out that billions of gallons of pesticides have been dumped on this land, they got the go-ahead, okay? And so the precedent is there. It was done 20 years ago.
Yeah, I have no problem
We
doing that
just
battle
need to
with
dump
you.
pesticides and then it's okay.
All right. Any other questions? You,
Staff seeking approval of the recommended course at this point, and then if you want to take a political course, that, I think that should be done in conjunction.
okay. Is this everyone okay with the consent on this?
Yep.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
I was going to move around new business with open floor comments.
Go ahead.
Eric doesn't have to sit here any longer. Eric, why don't you come on up and talk?
My name is John Erickson. I live on 843 Summit Drive.
I'm sorry, I called you Eric. John, Mr. Erickson.
That's correct. I live on 843 Summit Drive, and I have a little speech. So, at the November 19th, 2014 Committee of the Whole meeting, Mary Straight voices concerns about construction management and the oversight by the city's engineer department. I'm here to tell you that these concerns are still alive and well today. At the beginning, City Engineer Amy Wagner spoke of 19 to 20 construction jobs that will be going on onto this fiscal year. Summit Drive is actually one of them. She stated that independent counsel would be hired to handle half of these projects, and the remaining projects would be handled by the city staff, including a new part-time engineer tech. She stated that no more than 4 projects would be ongoing at any given time, so the city staff with the 4 employees of the engineering department each would be covered. My conversations with Mr. Weir, your engineering tech, started 2 years ago during the Maple Court reconstruction. His answers were always very vague and very non-committal. We have had many issues on Summit Drive due to the condition of Maple Court. My dealings with Mr. Weir continued on the city contract when the city contractor damaged my driveway. I was told by Mr. Weir to file a claim to the city insurance company, and then he went away. At my knowledge, he didn't take any photos of the damaged driveway, and there was no resolution to this day, and my driveway is still damaged. When the reconstruction project of Summit Drive began, I was happy to see that the current city council was paying attention to the Kelvin Grove area. This is an area that's been overlooked time and time again by previous councils. The roads in our area are deteriorating faster than we can rebuild them. For the current projects and the future projects in our area, I'm very grateful. I do have concerns. The same concerns that Mayor Straight voiced at that November meeting regarding the construction management, and more importantly, by the oversight of the city staff. On June 6th at 10:30 p.m., I contacted the Lockport Police Department to report several neighborhood kids wreaking havoc on Summit Drive. And then at that point, they moved to Kelvin Grove Park. The next morning, I left my home at 5:30 a.m. to find manhole hole covers thrown all over the Summit Drive area. I approached Mr. Weir regarding dust control, the 8-inch pipe that was double stacked and taking up half the road, and as well as the incident the previous night with the manhole covers. I asked if a street sweeper could come through or the dust be wetted down. The dust was so thick that I was concerned for my family and my neighbors who would be breathing it in. His exact words were no, plain and simple as no, and he drove off. My neighbor Tom across the street also had an issue when the contractor dug out his driveway. The contractor did not fill the trench enough to allow him to move in and out of his driveway. Mr. Weir was not there, and Tom actually had to deal with the contractor directly to be able to leave his home. Another neighbor was blocked in her driveway with no notice. With a large amount of dirt, she had to ask the contractor to move the spoil so that she could leave her home. Again, Mr. Weir's not there. On Friday, I contacted Amy Wagner regarding these issues, the issues that the residents of Summit Drive were having on this reconstruction project. My specific concerns were the lack of communication between city staff and the residents regarding the road obstructions, as well as the water shutoff and the contractor beginning prior to the 7 a.m. start. I distributed an email that I then sent to Amy, the city administrator, Ben Benson, the second ward Alderman Smith, and I'll get your name messed up, Gillogly? Galogly, I apologize, sir. Right. The email details the concerns that I brought to Ms. Wagner on Friday, and shortly after this email was sent on Monday, the constructor was out tidying the road. The superintendent from Austin Tyler Construction Company approached me and voiced his displeasure about the email that I sent earlier that afternoon. I stood out there in the rain with the superintendent while we were conversating. Mr. Weir was sitting in his truck on the corner of Summit and Maple at that time. He didn't come out, just sat there. A short while later, another employee of Austin Tyler came to my home while I was out. He was very aggressive towards my wife, wanting to talk to that guy that actually made that email. Again, Mr. Weir was not there. Actually, I saw Mr. Weir, he was driving as I was approaching. On Tuesday, the contractor blocked in several neighbors with piles of dirt and concrete with no notice. Either the road should be passable or the road should be closed completely. I have several seniors on my block, some with health issues, and 2 of them are actually now recently widowed. How are the emergency crews to respond when the road is impassable? My concern is for the safety and well-being of myself, my neighbors, and my family. This should also be the concern of our city staff. I would like to know why the residents are dealing with the contractor and not with the city staff. If the job of the engineering department is to oversee and manage these projects, shouldn't that also include communicating with the residents and mediating between the residents and the contractor? I have to ask you, why did Mr. Weir idly sit in his truck while the superintendent approached me? I do not understand why it's actually have come to this point. I truly don't. That I have to come to the city council meeting to address my concerns that were previously addressed by the mayor himself back in November. Now, I also gave you a submittal of emails, and on the highlighted aspect on page 2, Mr. Mayor, I would like to read a couple of the statements. It's on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, 6th paragraph. It starts at this. My second concern is the start time of the contractors. Lockport ordinance states that the start time for the residential work is at 7 a.m. All too many times the contractor's equipment is started and moving by 6:30. I know the operators need to oil and maintain their equipment prior to working. However, that does not consist of beating their buckets or slamming their whole boxes around my neighborhood at 7 a.m. His response to me, John, we apologize for our untidiness. We certainly understand the perceived anarchy, but replacing streets is definitely a messy business. However, proper egress is expected, and notices should be placed in advance, and yes, we do have an ordinance we can enforce. Now, again, I had a rebuttal to that. And I said, I am, however, a little concerned that the ordinance regarding the 7 a.m. start time has not been enforced, and that you say you can enforce it. I was under the impression that the Code of Ordinances were in place for a reason, and that we have a full-time staff code enforcement officer that's employed to enforce that code. Why would we allow our contractors to not follow our own code? The following email that was actually sent just to me. He says, between you and me, I would say our ordinances are enforced by complaint basis. We shall rectify, with a smiley face. Now, that's really, if you don't mind me saying, unprofessional. Now I got more to this. I apologize.
John, let me just stop you. I get the picture. It's fine. You don't need to go on, and we usually only have a 5-minute time limit anyway.
I do only have a few more minutes, sir. I honestly, and I'll get out of
Is
the
there
way.
something that's
Yeah, this
different than
not
what
only
you're saying?
pertains-
Because I'm not here to argue with you. I'm
No,
here
I
to
know
agree
that,
with you
sir.
and to
I
take
know
care
that
of the
you're probably
problem.
this is your first time hearing this situation, and I do understand that, and I'm also expressing my concerns. And the only thing that I have to say about this is that just before I came here, it was at 12:40, I received an email from Mr. Benson. He accused me of filing a false claim with the city's insurance. I would like to know, Mr. Benson, how a claim that is considered fraudulent, that was instructed by Bob Weir to file this claim. I've been a concrete carpenter for over 20 years. And you know what? I felt that the stress cracking from the beating of the backhoe, the bucket, and the dropping of our drop boxes next to my driveway caused some stress cracks. Mr. Benson, how dare you accuse me of filing a false claim? I also dare you. I also want to know why you use these scare tactics when I'm here to make my concerns in tonight's meeting at the City of the Whole. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
And did you want to respond to that one?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I think some of my communications with John was meant to try to alleviate the situation because, as he stated in his earlier statements, he's not sure why he's here. I'm not sure if there's a direct request for the council this evening. My attempts of discussions with him, either by phone and or email, were to alleviate him and make him a satisfied resident of the situation. If he was not able to accept those communications or deal with staff so that it didn't have to waste the council's time, I apologize for that. I think Bob Weir is here, and if he would like to defend any of his statements, he's welcome to come up to the microphone. We did have an incident where John filed a claim against our insurance when we had before and after pictures that proved that the crack in his driveway was not from our project, and I think it lends a lot to the story of his credibility this evening.
Yes, Council. I have a cell phone, I have a office phone, I have email. You can approach me anytime on the site. Any site that we do, either I'm there to supervise the people that are there, or somebody's always on site. We take a lot of pride in getting with residents, making sure we, try to make things as smooth as possible. I'm sorry you're upset. If you need to have anything that you need us to do out there, we'll try our damnedest to get it done. But again, I have never received an email, a phone call, a message on my office phone regarding any of these allegations.
Engineering has 22 construction projects going on right now, something like that?
Yes, sir.
We only have 4 engineers?
Correct.
So we can't be on every site at 6:55 to worry about a bucket being set down outside your house. The code, when I said is enforceable by complaint, is if someone, you, the resident, can help be our eyes and ears, and if you alert me and I alert staff and we get the situation rectified, that's how we handle things. Again, I still am a little perplexed as to what we can do for you. I believe the current status of the situation is cleared up. Is there anything else we can do for you tonight, sir?
My rebuttal to... Excuse me. No problem. My rebuttal is that Mr. Weir, yes, he is on this site. But again, he did not address why the contractor has to come to me or to other residents and not communicate with them, and then him communicate with us. Now, I'm not here to go out here and ask you for your phone call and stuff like that. I'm asking you to do your job. I'm asking you to mediate that job. I'm asking you to make sure that job is done correctly. Now, yes, I did put a FOIL because I would love to know what the other residents here are going out and asking about this to them. Because I'm actually seeing a trend. This trend is basically, I don't give a shit. And I excuse my language. It's just, you're there. You're driving around. You said that you're supposed to be manning up these things between independent counsel as well as hiring extra part-time staff. And this was way back when. And at that point, you should have somebody on site at all times, not driving around the neighborhood, not sitting in the corner of a street, not doing any of those things. He should be out there. He should be out there voicing their concerns to me, to other people that are asking. And that's all I have to say about that. So yes, I have to come out to the city council, waste my night, have you hear my concerns. And it's unfair. It should be actually held from the beginning, from the bottom, from the person in the field, not from the people here. It shouldn't have to come to this point. And that's what I have to say about it.
All right, Mr. Erickson, I appreciate it. Look, I understand what the problem is. It's Ben and I's job to manage staff. If there's issues with that, we will certainly be on it. I know Ben's, you get upset about the way he responded to you. It's Ben's personality. He's a good guy. He's a lighthearted guy. He tries to diffuse situations with being friendly. That's all that is. And I will defend Ben on that one. Certainly, if it requires a nasty call from me to Austin Tyler, I have no problem doing that. Amy will testify that I've done that in the past, and I'll do it again. So if it needs to come from me to the contractor, I will do so. I'm doing that. All I can say, John, is these are disruptive. I haven't seen one of these projects go where it's not a pain in the neck for residents. It's always that way. When it's done, everybody's happy about what's going on. Everybody's angry as bees. And even like when I saw it in my neighborhood, watching, people coming out of the house, talking to the contractors, it's just what happens, man. Even I would do it. I go out there, what's going on? I don't understand this. They don't know I'm the mayor, but I'm just out there talking to people. But as far as, is it necessary for you to do that? No, it's not. That's the job of staff. If that communication's not happening, send Ben, send me an email. We will intercede for you.
And what were we going to do about the proper egress on our street for emergency vehicles, per se, something
That one, I don't know
happens?
what to tell you, John. There's just there's no way to keep it open for a fire truck sometimes. Sometimes it just got
Is there
piles of dirt there.
communication with the fire department to
The fire
saying
department knows
that,
how to get in
well,
and
they,
out
well,
from,
I'm just saying if you
This
had-
is not a cul-de-sac. You can enter from either,
No,
you can
but
get
yet
to
you
either
had
one.
work going on and you dug out on 8th Street, and then you also did it on the corner of Maple and Summit. So now you have one little area that you have to go to.
John,
Not
there's
everybody has
sometimes
that
there's just
communication.
no way to do the work without tearing the road up, man. It's just going to be the way it is sometimes. Our fire department and our first responders are skilled. They know how to get around these things. They can get in and out. They don't necessarily have to pull, the ambulance up to the house to get somebody in and out, like you said with your elderly folks. They will make a way in there with fire hoses, extensions if they have to. They know how to deal with these things. But there's just sometimes you just can't get. Sometimes there's a hole in the ground and a pile of dirt. It's just the way it's going to have to be sometimes. It stinks. Nobody likes it when it's happening. I understand your frustration. But as far as staff, it's been a nice job to manage it. We'll certainly have conversations with, those who are in the field to make sure that things are, and also this aspect of starting at 7 a.m. The same issues around us. It's like, what are these guys firing their engines up at 6:30? Sometimes it's like, if nobody cares, the contractors like starting early because they get done early.
But isn't
if
that
somebody
the code?
cares, you call, you're the eyes and ears at 6:30. Bob Weir's not on site at 6:30 in the morning.
Well,
So-
shouldn't he be, though? I mean, if they're going to
Like
be
you said,
starting
we have
on
20
that.
projects going on, John. It's
Uh,
like the first time we've really tried to move forward with it. And so sometimes people aren't going to be on site. So if there's a guy firing up a truck at 6:30, send Ben and I an email. We'll take care of it.
Isn't that what the code enforcement is here for, though? Aren't they supposed to be seeing these jobs as they are going at this time?
Again, John, we can't be everywhere at once. It's okay if you call us. Just say, hey, these guys are starting jobs at 6:30. We'll take care of it.
Can I add to that? Part of this is expectations.
No.
Bob, whoever the actual person is on site or anything like that, to have staff or foremen or any of that there at the entire time for entire projects from start to beginning, start to end, the expectation's not there. That's not how, the pricing would just be outrageous. We'd have we wouldn't be able to afford certain projects. So it's more of an expectation, people that actually don't do this on a daily basis, community and everything like that. I understand it, I do that, but for the community, for everyone else to understand is that when staff's looking at it, Amy's looking at it, there's only a certain amount of people to cover a certain amount of projects, just because of budget constraints and so forth, but we want you to have that same expectations, understand that they're not there, as the mayor's saying, it's for you to, if you do spot something, it's like a neighborhood watch, feel free to call, and you're doing the right process. If you felt that you didn't get the answers from Bob, from Amy, from Ben, you come to the city council and everything like that, and then we have to work that out. So you're not doing anything wrong, but we're actually just saying that, so you understand the process of how these projects get done.
Will there be follow-up after this conversation at the City of Hull? Will there be follow-up by you, Mr. Mayor, or to have Ben or whomever it may be to actually be supervising this job at a more close-eyed base, because this is obviously a concern?
The number one thing we'll make sure is that work doesn't start before 7. We can certainly do that. We can talk to Austin Tyler and make that happen. Expecting Bob Weir to be there at 7 and leave at 4, that's not going to happen. He will go through when he has time. He's got 20 projects to manage. If you see a problem that Bob misses, feel free to call, and we will take care of it. I'm happy to do so. If Austin Tyler becomes problematic and I need to send a nasty call, I will do so. We will do our best to please you, sir.
I'm just wondering if that's going to continue on, where their employees are going to come in and actually have to talk to us when, obviously, you have your engineer tech there on site or close to site.
It is the contractor's responsibility as well to communicate with the people on the street. It is their job to let them know what's going on. A good contractor would be informing you constantly, and you should feel free to go to that contractor and voice your opinions to him as well. It is his responsibility. Do you think he wants to come back to us or explain to the city council why he's not getting along with John Erickson?
Well, this is not a personal gripe, by all means. This is not me just going out and saying, I hate you. What I'm saying is that there's pre-planning. They obviously know that they're going to be doing this amount of things per day, per week. They have scheduling. They have to keep it. You can't let a person know. You can't let him know. You can't have them come up to the individual, up to the area that's actually affected, whether it be 3 houses or a block. That's what needs to be done. There has to be more communication, not coming over there, looking at a ditch witch in the middle of my yard without them even asking for any kind of permission, or putting boxes on the middle of people's streets. Or taking dirt, just piling on the thing, and then having people do that. You just don't do that.
It's a reconstruction.
Well, you do it, but you try to get it so that you get out of the driveway, or you have somebody communicate.
Look,
I mean, you just don't put it in the middle of the
I had to
driveway.
get my car out of the driveway at 6 o'clock and put it around the corner so that when my wife left for work, she wouldn't be stuck. It's just what it is, man. It's just what it is. We will do our best to make sure if there's any very specific concerns other than construction, we will take care of it. Start time, we can deal with. Just working too late in the evening, we can deal with. Making sure if water's turned off, you get proper notification. Those are reasons when we notify and put the hangers on the door. We will do so. Certainly, if you feel like you're not getting a proper response, don't hesitate to call Ben and I. As far as this crack in the driveway goes, we can take a look and see if sounds like maybe this crack was there prior to construction. I can dig a little deeper to find out what the truth is on that one.
That's fine. I was working a lot of hours at that time. I was doing 70 hours. I was working 7 days a week, so I wasn't able to continue on to that process. So that was also 2 years ago. I mean, really, it's been 2 years. It's when they were digging out those 14-inch lines or whatever, way down about 14 feet. I'm not going to get nothing. Now you got weeds and stuff like that. That's just pretty much saying, you know what, come on. But what I'm saying is that's at the time. It was unfortunate that I wasn't able to follow up at that time. But to accuse me of a fraudulent claim, that's not going to happen again. And that will not accept that.
I stand by my statement.
You can stand by your statement, and I also disagree.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate your time, Mr. Mayor.
All right, John. Don't
Alderman,
hesitate to send me the
have a good
emails
night.
if there's things that come up, all right? All right.
I would just like to make a quick comment about everything that's been said tonight. When we plan a reconstruction project in neighborhoods, the first thing that we do when we get preliminary plans done is we send out notices to all the residents via mail. We mail residents out to notices out to each address, inviting them to an open house to come in, to take a look at the plans, to discuss the project, to inform them about everything that's going to happen on the project. Not only do we mail letters out to these residents, but we put door hangers on the door a couple of days before to remind them, hey, the open house is going to be this week, and it's going to be at this date and this time and this location. Please show up so you can take a look at the plans, you can ask questions, you can find out what's going to happen. Now, on this project, there were 5 people that showed up to the open house. 5 out of the entire street, okay? And when you don't show up to the open house and you don't hear the explanation of what's going to happen and what to expect, there are a lot of people that get upset about it. But they need to come to the open house. They need to be interested in what's going on their streets. Not only do we do an open house, which is something that a lot of communities do not do. This is very unusual for communities to do this. Not only do we do an open house for the residents, but when the project starts, we put a door hanger on their door saying the contractor is going to mobilize, they're going to start the underground installation, they're going to be digging, there's going to be times when you can't get in and out of your driveway. If you have any questions or concerns, please call this number. Then, when the underground is done and the contractor gets ready to demolish the roadway, we send out another notice. The contractor's getting ready to demolish the roadway. You're going to have trouble getting in and out of your driveway for a little bit. If you have any questions or concerns, please call this number. We do it for demolition, we do it for curb installation, we do it for sidewalk installation, we do it for PCC driveway installation. We do it for the binder layer of asphalt, we do it for the surface layer of asphalt, and we do it at the end of the project to find out if there are any outstanding issues with the residents. Most municipalities do not do this. This is something that is unusual. We provide a tremendous amount of information to the residents. And not only this, but we have a website that we have updates periodically on the website of what's going on. So there are times during a project when the contractor is installing storm sewer or water main or something across the roadway, and this may happen in the middle of the day. We may not know exactly when it's going to happen, and the roadway is completely impassable for that few hours that it takes the contractor to get the storm sewer or the water main or whatever it is across the roadway. To expect that we are going to go door to door and hand out notices every 45-minute period that the roadway is impassable is it's just not practical for us to do that. We respond. When Mr. Erickson called us, he talked to me and explained his concerns. Immediately, like within an hour, less than an hour, an email went out to the contractor saying, okay, we've gotten a concern. These are the concerns. Please take care of it. Okay? I contacted the guys in the field and I said, okay, I know we handed out notices because of the water shutdown, but apparently we didn't get far enough back. So the next time we have a water shutdown, make sure that you go further back and make sure more people are notified, because we had a few people that were left out. Sometimes it's impossible for us to know exactly how far back we have to go with water main shutdowns. It's impractical for us to hand out notices to everybody in the Kelvin Grove neighborhood. Sometimes we meet with the water department, we say, this is what we're going to shut down, this is the tap that we're going to make, and they say, okay, well, the valve is here, here, and here, and it's going to affect these residents, and this is where you need to hand out notices, and that's where we hand out notices. The next day, when the shutdown happens, they may not be able to get a valve shut down, so they have to go 1 block further to get it shut down so that they can make the tap. And then that's when we end up with residents who are not notified. But there's no way of us knowing that, just like there's no way for us to know when a water main break happens and they have to shut down the water main to repair a water main break. There are people that are not notified when certain situations happen. We try our very, very best to make sure that everybody is aware of what's going on. If somebody is unhappy, they can always call us, and we try our best to make sure that we correct the situation. I have received 2 calls from Summit. Well, 3. At the very, very beginning of the project, I received a call from a lady who was upset that her trees were being cut down, and I talked to her, and she was completely fine. I received a call from Mr. Erickson, and I received another call from a lady whose grandmother was concerned about what was going to happen to her her front yard, and Bob went out and talked to her personally. So to say that we are not responsive and that we are not taking care of the residents out there, I think is ridiculous. We are doing everything that we can. We can't take care of situations if nobody is calling us and telling us that there's a situation. If they're going out of their house and they're talking to the contractor themselves without calling us, then, how are we supposed to, keep that from happening other than being out there on the street and jumping in front of the resident as they come out of their door to talk to the contractor? So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, we have a very professional, competent staff, and I'm proud of them, and I know that we spent way too much time talking about this tonight, and, just for example, with emails, I don't know what he shared with you, but I was first alerted at 1:12 on Monday, and I responded to him at 1:54. His response back to me at 9:10 that evening, thanking me for taking the time to respond to his complaint email and appreciating the prompt attention that was given to the project today because we had cleaned up the street. So, John, I thank you for coming out, and I think we'll certainly respond to your complaints and calls and awareness as we can to the project. And the only good news is, 6 to 8 weeks from now, you'll have a whole new street.
Can I make a comment? Yeah. I don't want this to go on that much longer, but, I've actually, there's something I was actually going to read at the last meeting anyways that I had to miss, but I'm actually really impressed by our public works. Some of you guys know, I'm working all the time. I'm not Darren, who's downtown Lockport 24/7. The guy, sometimes I think he sleeps in a tent downtown. But I do get emails and calls quite frequently, and I'm never around, right? I can't just stop here and talk to Ben. And so I just forward them on. And usually I'll get something from a resident and I'll say, I don't know, right? Like, I don't know if Joe Finley's team goes and looks at this. I don't know if Amy actually goes out and does it. And every time the response is like, yeah, they'll hear from us, we'll be out there tomorrow. There's somebody who has a concern with their trees, and I say, I don't know how this exactly works. And I sent it to Joe, I think, at noon yesterday, and he said he was going to be there today to go look at it. So I find our public works team, and really the whole staff, police, everybody, to be extremely accommodating. Code enforcement, traffic, everybody extremely accommodating. And to this a little bit more specifically, is a project that has been, kind of a smaller project going on in my ward, and so I've heard a couple of things of feedback, all very positive. And the one that I was going to share last time, I'll just read a small quote, but I think a couple of us got this email from one of the residents of Beamy. She specifically said, she's thankful for the project, glad we actually got their water fixed, whatever. And to quote from her email, "We also want to make sure you know that the people and workers of Strand Engineering, Austin Tyler Construction, Pride Plumbing, in our city have shown themselves to be knowledgeable, professional, and concerned about all the residents as the work has proceeded." So I understand there might be some issues here. We probably need to get a couple things cleaned up. Maybe we didn't work through the right channels to get this specific thing cleaned up. But by and large, this is the feedback I hear all the time on all of our construction projects. I can only remember one other negative one. It was a guy who, as he knew his road was going to be closed down, wasn't happy about having to take his garbage cans off the road, which I didn't really even understand because he knew his road was closed, but thought that the garbage trucks were supposed to come through. And so, I get maybe 10 emails a month about construction stuff from residents, and they're all positive. So, I want to make sure everybody's aware that our city staff is really good. We can clean this up. Ben and the mayor said that they'll address it. But overall, Bob, Amy, police, everybody I think is, and even Tom, he addresses things with residents as they come up. So I just want to, kind of make that known that we do appreciate the work you guys do, and frankly, like Amy said, a lot of townships or cities don't do some of the stuff that our staff does, and I think it's great.
All right, I concur. We good?
Good.
All right. Let's jump over to Brian. Darren, you said you had some stuff for...
Yeah, I just want to give an update, what we discussed with the county and Civil Tech last week. The next day, I actually went down to the county board and addressed them, and I respectfully requested that they...
Just for clarity, you're talking about the Bruce Road, Caton Farm Bridge?
Bruce Road, Caton Farm Road, that they actually go ahead and consider the terminus at Bruce and 159th Street. Bruce Road and I-355, okay? There was a lot of positive comments from the board members and not so positive comments from the Will County engineer. One of the comments that they said is that we have engineering and we have studies at potential costs. Tomorrow, I am going to send a Freedom of Information request for any and all costs and future costs related to Phase 1 engineering performed by Civil Tech for the Bruce Road 159th Street middle alignment. I would like to have sometime in the next 2 meetings a conversation during the Committee of the Whole with the City Council. I will provide our city administrator with all the documents that I reviewed last week so we can have an educated discussion. I don't think that ever happened here in these chambers before. So that's where it is.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Thanks for keeping it rolling.
Next, the July 6th, Monday, the Classic Car Show. We have emergency vehicle. They will be here on that Monday. So 6 o'clock, bring your kids, your grandkids. And at 8:30, there will be a emergency vehicle, if you want to call it a parade, around Central Square, right over here. So come on out, Monday, July 6th. All the emergency vehicles, not all, but a good representation of the emergency vehicles will be here. If you want anything to add to that, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Oh, Chief, did a Lockport Love fundraiser ride. Absolutely wonderful turnout. You guys brought in like $16,000.
Well, we have 16,000 in the account. We're not sure how much we made on
Okay.
Sunday, but that's
It's
more than we
amazing.
raised all last year.
And you know what? It was a great turnout. You guys were blessed with good weather in this, summer of rain. You guys had a nice window to ride. But just the enthusiasm of you, the police department, the volunteers, and all that money, 100% of it goes right back into the Lockport to the folks who need it. And I really thank you and commend you for driving that, Chief.
I'd like to thank you as well as Alderman Galagly, Alderman Peretta, Alderman Bartleson for showing up that day. It meant a lot to us that you were there.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
Jessica, sorry.
Aaron. Everywhere. He's
Just
like
assume-
savoir faire.
I mean, I just assume he's at everything, you know.
And Darren. Yeah. No, absolutely. All right, great. All right. Yes, 3rd of July is when we celebrate in the town. I had one guy tell me I was a communist because of that, but it just works better with staffing, overtime, and everything else, and it just seems like every community does it on the 3rd. And most people like to be with their family on the 4th. So we will do it on July 3rd, Delwood Park. It's always a blast, pun intended. And all right, so that's good
Chief,
to know.
do you know, I heard something, have they decided on parking? You might not be as involved.
Yes, no,
I think they're
yeah,
restricting parking.
the
right?
grass is saturated, so there'll be no parking on the grass as usual, so we have to figure out some parking. We
Probably
just
give-
learned that today.
Yeah, give yourself a little more time trying to make it there and figure everything out.
Well, you can park on Jefferson between 10th and 9th. It's really
'Cause
wide.
it's wide, yeah.
Yeah. So you can park there.
It's wide on my street, too.
Well, I walk from there, so it's all right. All right.
Mayor, the Canal Days, recap, I think it went great.
Yeah, Canal Days went really well. It was a good time. I think, the other thing that happened too was they started off I was going to show you guys this. Have you guys seen these? We passed some of them out. So this was an effort, quite frankly, it's part of the Summer Art Series, but it was business retention. I mean, we went around, we got like 30 businesses to sign up for this, and it has all these collector cards from. Some of them are Lockport residents. Menora Paxson, first female chiropractor in the United States. You keep that one, Darren. Some of them are fantasy cards, but they all go to this really great story. That's a fantasy story. It's got little shades of truth in it, but it incorporates old Lockport characters, and it's really fun. But anyways, these cards are all throughout the city of Lockport. People go to the businesses and collect the cards. I was talking to Studio 905. They said they had a person from Thunder Hill come in to them. They were in here. Remember, they do the design, interior design. She goes, I've never been able to get through to Thunder Hill. This lady came in with her kids. She picked up the card and left with a $2,500 order. So that's what it's about, man. That's what it's about. It's about driving people to our businesses, business retention. You can pick up these maps at City Hall or the Public Library, White Oak Library. It is. It's a lot of fun. It goes on through the middle of August. So that was a good part of Old Canal Days as well. So yeah, thanks for reminding me about it. We had a lot of fun. Thanks for the jerseys. It was fun to walk as a team in the parade. All right. Anything else, folks? Oh, and Whole Hog is coming up July 11th. That's another, Susan Pageant put that together. The chief helped put that together. It should be fun. It's like a big barbecue out in Central Square. You know, any obnoxious cars with big loud motors or motorcycles. I really like the idea of custom stuff. People who really go out of their way to make fun things. Bring it out. Should be a lot of fun. We'll have jumpies. I think the Neverly Brothers are coming. That should be a good time. So, July 11th. All right, does that wrap it up? All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion.
Second.
Let's see, Galogly, and who seconded? Everybody seconded, yeah. Take a pick, yeah. Bartleson, second. All in favor? Aye. You guys want 5?
Yes.
Just 5 minutes, and we'll reconvene. 9:05. 9:05.
Hey, does anybody know if anybody knows if you got Friday garbage pickup, will they do it Saturday, or are they taking both days off? Does anybody know?
I have no clue.
Anybody know Waste Management?
Doesn't know who to go to.
Fireworks? Okay, because I usually have Friday, which is now the observed holiday.
Chris.
Right.
Alderman
What are
Capadona.
these guys talking about? Yes.
Alderman Capadona, please.
Testing, 1, 2.
Hey, Capadona. This ain't no holiday hotel.
It's not even your wife, it's his.
Yeah, quit hitting on Peretta.
Reconstructed,
City council.
the subdivision streets and, you know, just not being back anymore. That's not a criteria for rezoning.
Joanne.
It has to like, yeah, it has to be really.
Da-da-da-dee.
Joanne.
Yes. Excuse me.
Amy never stops talking.
We yelled at Capadona, and then you're like, da-da-da-da-da.
All right, yeah. All right, everybody, welcome to the city council meeting.
No, I opened it.
Pledge allegiance. You go in and you say, this is, you need help, you help them, they move out, and it's done.
Ready, Alice? Can you do a roll call for us? Okay.
You don't have to repledge.
Here. Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here.
All right. I need a motion to have a consent
So
agenda.
moved?
Alderman Peretta.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Petrakos. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have a approval of the regular city council meeting minutes from June 17th, the committee of the whole meeting minutes of June 17th. We have the payroll period ending June 21st, approval of bills, and the Oak Creek letter of credit release phase 1. And also that would be resolution number 15046. So may I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Alderman Peretta, seconded by Alderwoman Bartleson. All in favor?
Aye.
I accept abstain on number 4, approval of bills.
Okay. You have another one of your bills in there, JR?
They're paying me.
Okay. All right. Ben, what do you got? CA1?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of council. On the city council agenda this evening, we have CA1 and CA2, both are resolutions approving the collective bargaining agreements with the city of Lockport's employee MAP 75, which is resolution 15051. Also, Lockport's employee local 150, resolution 15052. These resolutions would be approving the collective bargaining agreements with both the city of Lockport's 2 employee bargaining units. Again, the Metropolitan Alliance of Police, Chapter 75, International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150. The city administration bargaining team has reached the tentative agreements. Staff is seeking passage of both those resolutions. I want to take this opportunity to thank the bargaining team representatives from MAP and 150 and spending time with us, and certainly thank staff and City Attorney Tom Thanis and Lisa Heglin, our finance director, spent a lot of time on these agreements, and we're looking for approval.
Okay.
I have included an executive session request on the agenda in case you want to go into executive session to discuss into the individual particulars about the agreement. You've all received them, but if it's not necessary and you're ready to approve, we're certainly seeking that passage.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, Deskin, seconded by Alderman Capadona. Any discussion, any desire for executive sessions?
No, none.
All right, can I have a roll call, please?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
That was both of them.
Did you need to?
You had to do both of them?
CA2,
You need
yeah.
to do sorry.
He's like, what?
Yes.
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 Okay, very good, thank you. All right, so we don't need our executive session, so we'll jump down to Amy.
Okay, I'm going to do CE1, the resolution for construction on a state highway. However, in the packet, it's listed as CE2. I don't understand why that happened, but it's actually on the agenda as CE1. So Every 2 years, there is a resolution that needs to be passed by the city in order to expedite permits for work in the right-of-way, in IDOT right-of-way. It's just a resolution saying that we'll adhere to all the rules and regulations of the IDOT permit and restore everything back to the way it's supposed to be. And passing this every 2 years saves us time. When we have an emergency repair, we can call and get a permit, quickly instead of having to go wait till city council approves a resolution every single time. So this is the recommendation is that the council pass a resolution which assures the state that all work will be in compliance with the requirements of the state permits, and also holds the state harmless from any liability from damages that occur as a result of the permitted work.
Okay, so you need a motion to approve?
Make the motion.
Second.
Okay. Vandermeer, Beretta, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, what else you got there, Amy?
Okay, CE2 is the 2015 sidewalk program. On June 24th, the city of Lockport received bids for the 2015 sidewalk program. This project is not only removal and replacement of sidewalk, according to the regularly scheduled annual sidewalk program, but also includes a retaining wall and handrail adjacent to Mill and Grove School, for which the school district has agreed to reimburse the city, and also about $13,000 of water and street department requested improvements, including like curb repair and a sidewalk replacement that was a part of like a water main break or something that the street department did. The total project award will be in the amount of $125,562.40. And this is, the original bid amount was $147,204.40, but the decorative retaining wall in front of the school was removed for cost savings measures, and that's why there's a difference. So the recommendation is to pass a resolution authorizing the execution of a contract with Globe Construction in the amount of $125,562.40 for the 2015 sidewalk program contract.
All right, a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Alderman Galogly, seconded by Alderwoman Bartleson. May I have a vote, please?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, very good. Joanne asked me a question about our liaison reports. What we'll do is next committee of the whole, forgive me, I should have done it this time, but it got past me. So, but next time we do committee of the whole, we'll have an area just before the mayor's report or after, right in the beginning, where you guys can do, you can report on the things that we've tasked you with, and so be happy to hear reports and things that have been going on. So, and over the next couple weeks, feel free to call me if we want to think through a little bit about exactly. I know it's new, so don't hesitate to call me. We'll work through that.
We thought we would label that after your report on the agenda as liaison committee report, and then if anyone has anything they want to bring up to their prospective issues, certainly staff is also going to be utilizing those liaisons as resources as we looked for things for passage. I know Lisa's working with Jason in regards to an item currently, so yeah, we'll have that on the next agenda.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, where it needs to be. Okay.
All right. All good to go? Anything else? All right. I'll have a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion.
Second.
Alderman Vandermeer, seconded by Alderman Peretta. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Have a good night.
You okay with that wording?